Welcome to the new Cyber Frontier, bringing you the latest news and initiatives that focus on the development of cybersecurity economics. You don't have to be a computer or cybersecurity expert to get plugged in. Your host brings it straightforward, asks the tough questions, and brings the cyber world to a level of understanding for everyone. You can find us on the web at www.newcyberfrontier.com. Now join our host as he introduces the topic for today's new Cyber Frontier.
My lovely co-host, Martha Laufman. Thanks for joining us today. We have two guests. We brought on Doug Britton, who is the founder of Haystack Solutions. And also he has brought with him one of his test case, Maria Marquez, who is a student graduate, very impressive, from the University of North Georgia, and also in August going to the Citadel in South Carolina for a master's in computer information sciences. So definitely we're impressed by you, Maria. And Doug, we'll let you kind of give, I'll turn it over to Martha to kind of walk through introduction to Doug here.
Yeah, maybe I'll just give a little bit of context as to why I fell in with Doug's organization. I am, of course, a workforce development professional, and one of the big dilemmas out there is how do we, if say a student is going to start cybersecurity training, how do we know they're going to be successful and complete it, right? There's a lot of wasted funds that go out there and a high attrition rate in technical training. And then on the other side of things, you know, as an industry, we're really trying to get new people and diverse populations excited about cybersecurity, and we don't have a way of showing them, hey, you know, you could have a high aptitude and be really interested in this. So using, you know, psychometrics as an avenue of getting people interested into cybersecurity and being able to predict who would be successful is always a hot topic at every conference I've been to for years. And so insert Doug and Haystack Solutions. I met them when trying to figure out a solution for my own organization, Smoothstack. So Doug, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for being here.
No, thank you very much for having me, Martha. Your organization's been a pleasure to work with. It's been exciting. You know, you guys are right where the rubber meets the road and helping bring new people into the profession. So it's been a joy to work with you and your team. And so Haystacks, you know, we're excited to help again expand who's a part of the profession, because there are a lot more people out there that could be a part of it but are intimidated by it, don't have background in it, and they think you know, I don't belong. But the needs, the risks of not doing anything are so acute that, you know, the way we look at it, everyone who can be in the fight needs to be in the fight, and we need to find them wherever they are. So at Haystacks, we licensed some technology from the University of Maryland that was built for the NSA, the Navy, Air Force, and SOCOM, that was designed to help the services find who amongst their ranks could excel in the cyber professions before they knew anything about cyber. And so Haystacks is the exclusive commercial licensee of that work, and we're now getting it out in market and having some really exciting success with it. So thank you. We're excited to get to share it.
So you're saying that your tool that you have, CATA, was originally used as a way of evaluating soldiers' aptitude to retool them from what they were doing into cyber careers?
Exactly. So it's being looked at in two ways. One, how to retool, either as their, it hit a mid-career point and maybe they're going to go officer and they want to transition from being infantry into maybe a cyber officer career path, but also at the entrance processing stations when someone is being recruited in. This, like the other tests they would take, this could be a filtering test for, oh, wait, you know, instead of being a cook, you should be, you know, a security operations center operator.
Interesting. And so that's, I guess, the use case, if you will, for military. How are you applying this to non-military?
No, great question. Thank you. So what we're focusing on is the two different populations. One is hiring managers who are inundated with resumes and trying to separate signal from noise. And I'm trying to pull in, you know, an early career, mid-career, even senior career professionals. I'm getting a lot of resumes, and and people are presenting credentials and certifications. Those are, not everybody has a lot of confidence in those. So how do they figure out who should I spend my team's time interviewing? And we're able to help them sort through those incoming candidates, extremely quickly, and at a much lower cost than having HR professionals scan through everything. So that's been extremely effective. People are enjoying that. And then we're also working with managers, commercial facing managers who want to look at their population and do some upskilling. So if they have maybe a lot of IT professionals and they need to figure out who amongst their IT professionals or other aspects of their employment body, who can I get into my cyber ranks? If I'm down 20 people or 30 people, it's probably more cost effective to retrain some of my IT team. So how do they make sure that retraining is not a gamble with corporate profits, but instead a highly focused professional project? And we give those managers, confidence that, this person is going to excel in training. This person is going to crush it. And then when they see the results, they're extremely excited.
Interesting. So we are going to take a break here from our sponsors and come right back to talk to Doug and Maria some more.
Blockframe Technology offers next-generation blockchain managed trust and security. Unique non-fungible tokens are used to secure software bills of materials to provide data quality and security for every transaction in your supply chain. Deploy advanced peer-to-peer product security, scale zero trust capability to millions of IoT devices, allow vendor tracking and accountability, and rapidly reset from compromise. Unchangeable, time-sequenced blockchain data provides next-generation security using machine learning trust algorithms and audit analytics. Start securing your supply chain today by contacting Blockframe at www.blockframetech.com.
We're back with Doug Britton. So Doug, can you let's take a little bit of a step back and tell us how did you get into this position? Like what is your evolution?
So I've been entrepreneuring for about the last 10 years, and I've done it with enough success that my wife considers it my actual job and not just this thing I say I do. Before that, I was in Lockheed, where I was on the break into stuff side of the cyber world. And there's one constant in all of my time in cyber, and it's that finding talent is a brutal knife fight. It's a horrible, horrible struggle. And it takes a lot of effort, and there's no predictability in your success in finding talent. So it's always been in the back of my mind that there has to be a better way. We need to be able to expand the tent. And so, when I saw the opportunity of the technology that the University of Maryland had invented, I was like, the market needs this, and I can get it there. And so that's what, and a couple of interactions around that are how I met, the University of North Georgia team and Maria.
So tell us introduce Maria. Why is Maria here with us today, and what was her experience with CATA?
Great. I'll set that framework, and then so Maria's here because she's a part of the Cyberhawks competition club at the University of North Georgia. And they were one of the early groups that helped me put some commercial spin, non-military spin on the testing of the technology. And the results that University of North Georgia achieved were stunning beyond anything that we could have predicted. And Maria's been as a part of that team for the last several years, and has been one of their exciting competitors that has really done some neat things with it, and didn't actually intend to go into cybersecurity, but this helped get her and a lot of other colleagues there. So I thought, she could offer a unique perspective from her own voice on how this can help an organization.
So Maria, tell us a little bit about what were you doing at the University of North Georgia, and how did you get introduced to CATA, and where did that lead you?
Yeah, so I started at the University of North Georgia as a IS major. I wasn't originally planning to go into cybersecurity. it wasn't until I met my advisor who started talking to me about cybersecurity and the Cyberhawks Club, or the Cybersecurity Club there at the University of North Georgia. So I decided to give it a go. I actually just started by just joining the club before switching majors. And then I actually got introduced to CATA. They told us about this exam, and it would give us a good idea as to what our strengths or what our weaknesses would be if we were to decide to go into a career in cybersecurity. So that's when I decided to take the test. And once I took it, I was like, okay, maybe I can do something in cybersecurity. And that's when I actually switched my major officially over to cybersecurity.
And have you found success?
Yes, I would say so far.
Well, tell us a little bit about that. Like, what has your team done? What has your journey been like?
Yeah, so as soon as I took the CATA, I actually started competing in cyber competitions at UNG. One of the main one was the NSA Codebreaker Challenge, which UNG did end up placing first. And I was one of the few students in the nation, I think there were a total of 50, to complete all 7 NSA challenges because they're that difficult. So honestly, had it not been for CATA, I don't think I would have realized what my strengths were and see how to do better in like those tests. Aside from that, I did do additional cyber competitions, and it just like, it helped me see what I should focus on to grow better in my cyber career, and what I was like, okay, this is something that I'm comfortable with. Now I'll try and do something that I'm not so comfortable with.
Mm-hmm. How well do you think that the CATA compared to what you've experienced afterwards? I mean, give us some maybe examples that they asked this in CATA and it's directly related in this area.
Yeah, so one of the CATA examples that I'll give is like, there was one that was kind of like memory. And I realized I already knew I was terrible at memory. So I knew I was going to have issues. So whenever it came to like cyber competitions, I knew I had to have like stuff written down, because otherwise I'll forget, especially if it was really important. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, I have to have these things written down so that I know, so that I can further myself in those competitions, for example.
That's interesting. So it not only helped you see where you have aptitude, but it helped you to see what areas you may have to have some buffer in, or some
alternate
extra
backup plan.
Yeah. I am curious though, why did a career in cybersecurity not occur to you before?
So if I'm being honest, when I was in high school, I considered computer science as a career. When I was going to join, I heard about how difficult computer science is and how difficult it is to code, and I had never done coding. So it just scared me. And I just decided to go to information systems because it was similar, but it didn't require all the coding. And then also the cybersecurity degree wasn't offered when I first joined UNG. So it wasn't a degree that was available. After I took the CATA exam, I was also taking a computer science 1 class, and I actually did really good in that class. And I was like, oh, maybe I was wrong this whole time, and maybe cybersecurity or computer science is a career field for me to go into.
Did any of your friends, were they interested in coding or cybersecurity in high school? Was this something that you had in your group at all?
No, not at all. I was actually the only one. So, yeah.
Interesting.
So we're going to take a break, hear from our sponsor. When we come back, we want to hear from Doug more about, what it is, if you could break down the things you're asking in this test and what cognitive abilities you're looking for. Very curious. Be right back.
Blockframe Technology offers next-generation blockchain managed trust and security. Unique non-fungible tokens are used to secure software bills of materials to provide data quality and security for every transaction in your supply chain. Deploy advanced peer-to-peer product security, scale zero trust capability to millions of IoT devices, allow vendor tracking and accountability, and rapidly reset from compromise. Unchangeable, time-sequenced blockchain data provides next-generation security using machine learning trust algorithms and audit analytics. Start securing your supply chain today by contacting Blockframe at www.blockframetech.com.
Welcome back. We're talking to Doug Britton, the founder of Haystack. And before the break, we also heard from Maria Marquez, a student that has gone through taking the test and been successful and changed their degree. So, Doug, bringing it back to you, we want to give us some basics about what it is. Let's lift up the hood and look under the engine. What is it that you're looking for, and in cognitive abilities and everything, and how does that relate to the cybersecurity profession? If you could just kind of unpack that a little bit.
Yeah, sure thing. No, I really appreciate it. So what we're really focusing on is what are the common cognitive elements among the myriad of cyber professions. So, according to the NICE framework, there's like 53 different jobs that it tries to wrap up. And so how do you put what CATA tries to do is put a common cognitive framework around that entire space. So the scientific team at the University of Maryland, what they did was focused on the parts of the brain that light up when experts are practitioners in these various professions. And they boiled that down to the least common set that was kind of most predictive of, again, we'll get into concepts of visual working memory, rule induction, attention capacity. These ended up being the most predictive. And what they developed was a framework that when you look at it on a chart, it looks kind of like a compass rose with north south, being your ability to initiate action, your ability to essentially, you can think of it as kick down a door. Are you the person who can take the first action? And in the south direction would be your cognitive ability at responding to somebody initiating action. So are you the person who kicks down the door, or are you the person that's on the other side of the door knowing that someone's going to kick it down, you just don't know when? And then on our east-west, we have a different set of cognitive muscles, and it's your ability to make decisions with limited information versus postponed decision-making until you have all of the information. And it turns out the cyber professions as a body need both types of decision-making. They're just appropriate for different roles at different times. And so if you happen to be strong in what we call real-time decision-making, which is decisions with imperfect information where you might have 30 seconds or a couple of minutes to figure something out and resolve conflicting information intuitively or without being able to reference many people, that tends to suit you more for being in a real-time operations, either attacker or defender. Whereas when you might be looking at a forensics person, typically has more time to make a decision. They will go and do, maybe weeks or months long data gathering, and they're able to deliberately not make a decision until a sufficient body of data has come together.
Mm-hmm. And you said there was some, I think I heard you say before, there were some speeds and things of how well we operate performance-wise that are assessed as well. Can you explain those?
Yeah, so psychomotor speed is testing your ability to connect, a computation your brain has made with translating that into keyboard response. And so one of the tests has to do with the ability to take your standard Arabic digits of 0 to 9 and see them presented in an alternative encoding of random symbols. And are you then able to take those random symbols and turn them back into Arabic digits in less than 2 minutes?
Isn't decision-making and speed something that can be taught? Like, as you were speaking, I was, visualizing like a poker table, right? And when I'm watching poker on TV and I see these experts that recognize the same patterns over and over and over again based on what cards are laid down the table, they instantly know what it is they want to do, right? So
exactly.
Do you think that that's something that can be taught and it's just about pattern recognition, or do you really think that there's an aptitude or both?
No, it's absolutely both. So, do you have, so what the complete chain that you're describing has some attention to details around attention capacity. Are your poker counterparty is never going to say, hey, I'm tipping you off now. They're going to just play their game. And your brain is going to have to interpret all of that signal and go, wait, that was different, or that was different. And your ability to maintain that focus, do rule induction, test this stream of information for what's different, and then have the confidence to act on that rule, and then test it and go back. That's a part of the body of practice, and that's one of the tests. Statistical learning is that test in particular, actually.
What do you do for? I mean, I've had people that are good at things, but they don't enjoy doing it. Is there anything in the test that says, yeah, we're testing to see what they're good at these skills, but would you like to be in this situation that usually the people from this type of industry or job do?
That's a really great question, and actually it's a lot of fun, because frankly, what we found is that most people who do well on the test actually really enjoy it. They find the test really interesting. They find these types of problems really interesting. And I'll actually, ask. I'll give a little bit more example and ask Maria, as someone who's done it. But what we've found is that, people who do excel in these are the types of problems that your brain is going to be spending all day on anyway. And if you don't like this, then that's a strong predictor that this isn't the field for you. In fact, Admiral Jan Tai, who was the then commander of the Navy's 10th Fleet, the chief reason, she was one of the original sponsors of the work when she was at the Navy, and she's now an advisor to the company. And one of the original impetus for the work was to increase retention of seamen. And what they realized was that by getting people into the right profession, they wanted to just keep doing it. So your question gets right at one of the key motivations to the work, which is, if you're going to find this interesting, and if you don't find this interesting, that's fantastic to know. But so Maria, I mean, what was your response?
Yeah, I completely agree. I definitely found that I like cyber, and that's why I wasn't sure whether I wanted to go into the degree or not in the first place. But I agree. It showed that I was good at it, and I have enjoyed it really well. And because it was so much problem solving, that's exactly what a bunch of cybersecurity is. It's a bunch of problem solving. So I agree. It does translate really well into the technical aspect of cybersecurity.
I'm thinking
and just give one quick add that kind of makes that point a little bit further. So what Maria left out of her explanation of how the Cyberhawks did is the Cyberhawks first won the NSA Codebreaker Challenge in 2019. They won it again in 2020. Now, what I found really compelling about that is that the team that did this, created this first victory, they stuck together out of natural affinity. Like, they were interested in it. They stuck with it, and the team kept growing and kept getting stronger. So if this had just been a flash in the pan of like, hey, we came together, but we didn't touch anybody viscerally into something that they found interesting, then it wouldn't have been a repeat victory. So that's one thing that I think bodes well for this being, really touching people in a visceral way and pulling out something that compels them.
I always try to relate cyber examples into non-cyber daily events in my life, and I'm thinking that I don't like to run. So if I go out there to try to run a mile, as soon as it gets a little bit hard, I'm going to quit. Right. But I really enjoy, training my dog. So I'm going to stick with it over and over and over and over again until I get it right, because I'm not just trying to get the goal at the end. I'm enjoying the process.
But you still get the same amount of exercise.
And my dog is not trained, so that was not a real example. But is that kind of what you think might be part of it, Doug? The correlation?
Yeah. No, I think so.
Interesting.
And what we found is that it's whether you're just entering the field, whether we've been able to find people that were going into college as criminal justice majors or psychology majors. And completely far-flung in disciplines, and they found that they're really excited about cyber. And we're kind of peeling back the curtain on, cyber is a lot of different professions, but it's this core set of problem solving and core set of cognitive activities. And so there's roles for so many people in the profession beyond, as Maria had been afraid of coding. There's so many places. But again, Maria is now not afraid of coding, and it turns out she's really good at it. And things like this helped. Maria had to do the work, so I don't want to overstate our role in it. Maria is incredibly capable and really achieved at a nationally competitive level. And it's exciting to Haystack that we were able to help someone that now a future cyber warrior get into the field and that wouldn't have previously given it a second look.
Hmm. And you have some success metrics you had mentioned. Can you tell us what you found out from doing the circle back, and we took the test and years later here's what we found out.
Absolutely. So when the work was being sponsored by the various services, the test was shown to be 97% effective at predicting who was in the Air Force was going to become an elite cyber warfare operator. In special operations, one of the special operations elements, it was about 80% effective at figuring out who was going to excel in one of the qualification and analysis courses.
So is that
We have similar
transition
metrics
to the
for prediction
civilian
in other
world?
services.
Does that transition well to the civilian world? I know kind of in the military you got a pool of people that are quite a bit the same, and it's a lot of times just like fishing from a puddle. But how's that translated to non-military?
So actually, I not to disagree with the host too strongly, but I'd say the services, the breadth that they were looking at, this was a really big puddle. Not a lot of homogeneity in who they were contemplating for these roles. So, but we do find that it's been strongly predictive. And Martha's organization has found the same in their selection of veterans for an apprenticeship program. But though it's a selection of veterans that are going to matriculate into commercial roles. So it's been highly predictive in hacking competitions. Besides the one that Maria mentioned, we've tested it with the University of Virginia, University of Maryland, and a handful of other places, and been able to show 60, 70+% efficacy in predicting who's going to win the competition.
Okay. Interesting. So also you'd mentioned NICE standards. So you map this over to NICE. Can you talk about that and how it would work for the different areas that might be less technical, more cross spectrum, just all the different areas that represented there?
Yeah, certainly. So what we describe is we're looking for your strengths in what we call cognitive initiation versus responding, and real-time decision making versus exhaustive decision making. And these detailed description of these is available for some other material we could provide, but what we're if you're strong at initiating and strong at real time, that would predict the offensive operations type roles like penetration testing, operator, red teaming. If you are strong at real-time decision making and strong at responding, that would be defensive operations like network security, incident handling, security operations center. If you're strong at responding and strong at exhaustive, that would be analysis and forensics, threat intelligence, cyber audit and compliance. And if you're strong at initiating and strong at exhaustive, that would be design and development. So that would be somebody who looks at the enterprise and says, what else should be here to make it more secure? If I made the walls 10 feet higher or 10 feet thicker, it's more secure. So what are the tools that don't exist yet? And they build into that void.
So you're talking about having stuff on a quadrant, right? And there's a mark where somebody falls on the quadrant, which will show their strength and weakness in these areas that you just mentioned. Is it, and we're used to seeing, these psychometrics, presented in this way, but I'm wondering, is it possible for someone to be strong in both in two different quadrants?
Absolutely. And that, as a hiring manager, that would be very exciting because you're looking at somebody who's cognitively well-rounded. And that would be, ostensibly someone that you would be looking to for a future, leadership role. There'll be times when you're excited to get someone that's strong at defensive because you've got to fill out your SOC and you've got to get people in, and you're extremely excited that because you've got strong defensive capabilities, you're going to have a very successful class. But amongst that, some of our clients use CATA for their talent planning, and they're like, who do I need to be watching and maintaining for future leadership potential? And so when you look at the well-rounded, the people who have strengths across multiple dimensions, that's when you get really excited about growth in other dimensions, and able to handle a variety of work roles.
Have you done any testing with like existing professionals that have spent 20 years in a certain area and test them to see if they align with what the preemptive would be?
Do you want to take it,
I would
Chris?
love to take it.
Chris wants to take it.
And I absolutely will send it to you. And yeah, we certainly have. And we've found that, it is extremely predictive of how people, even amongst, people that have been in industry 20 years, how they're going to do in a handful of other problems. So we've run tests alongside other knowledge tests. And we find that, the results still strongly predictive in those situations.
Let me ask you, I'm a big advocate of neurodiversity in cybersecurity, and I especially have, a place in my heart for young people on the autistic spectrum. So I used to be an autistic counselor, and, my brother is Asperger's. So my question is the test, valid and reliable for populations on the spectrum?
So the nice thing about our work is that the strength of its foundation in the scientific community, which I'm happy to explain ad nauseum, but I think most listeners would have turned off by then. But basically the underlying tests have been validated in public, have been cited in public scientific literature more than 10,000 times. Now, why that's germane is because what this allows us to do is look at tests that have been broadly validated. And what we've done is been able to then show how they map, these broadly validated tests map into cybersecurity. So we, the area of neurodiversity is an area where we agree that we could probably add new people to the mix by finding them and ascertaining where they can be. And we are excited to be a part of initiatives like that. And I know those options are out there, and what we're confident in is that, this will be able to see how do we really lean into that population, and what are the places where we can utilize their strengths in industry most effectively.
Interesting. So this has definitely been a great talk here, kind of in reaching the end of our time. Wrapping up though, Doug, I wanted to give you the opportunity to say who can reach out to you, how can they get a hold of you, who are you looking for to interface with, what customers or whatnot. Go ahead and put out anything you would like to get out to our audience.
Yeah, no, thank you. So it's haystacksolutions.com, and you will on there be able to sign up for 3 free assessments, and I can provide Chris the URL. Maybe that could pop that up, and anybody would be able to give it a try. And
okay.
our typical audience is hiring managers inside of organizations, and talent planners, and people who are doing upskilling and trying to manage the training program for their cyber organizations.
All right. Well, thanks so much for joining today, both Maria and Doug. This is Chris Gorog
And Martha Loftman.
Thanks for everything today. Have a good day.
We hope you have enjoyed this episode of New Cyber Frontier. Remember to get involved. Often we think that someone else will handle privacy and security in the virtual world, but you are the only one truly in command of your virtual fate. Join our mailing list so we can keep you informed of breaking news and new releases. If you have an idea, if you have a question that you would like to hear answered, or if you want to get involved with our efforts, reach out to us at newcyberfrontier.com. We also encourage you to visit our sponsors' links